Last couple of nights have not been pretty for the Milwaukee Brewers, especially Tuesday night's game. And I feel like Brewers Nation is panicking. I'm here to calm you down. I'll try next year on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And that's me, the voice of reason for Wisconsin sports. Not really, but we'll try to make some sense of this. So the Brewers are struggling right now. Hey, everybody. Good to have you along. Chuck Freimund, Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime, the Gametime app. Gametime app, create an account, download the app, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase with Gametime. Coming up on the show, the Brewers have lost 4 of their last 5. A little funk they're in. We'll talk about that. Everyone has their flaws. Everyone who the Brewers could face in the postseason has their flaws. I think the Brewers have the least amount of flaws of all of them. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. All right. Man, I feel like naturally as a Brewers fan, we're always trained that the end is going to come. All right. Brewers, after they had that 14-game winning streak in August, they had a little rough time at Wrigley Field after that. And I was like, oh boy. Right. And they bounced back. Yeah. Since that 14-game winning streak, they're playing sub 500 baseball. They're under the 500 mark for, 3 or 4 games or so. And they've lost 4 of their last 5 recently. I'll say this on a couple of things here. The Brewers they got a top 2 seed, and I feel like they have taken the foot off the pedal a little bit. Bruce Zimmerman starting Tuesday's game. He started Tuesday's game. In no way, if that game had any significance, all right, would Bruce Zimmerman be starting that game? Murphy's trying to get these guys. He's already got 1 starter down, Brandon Woodruff, and they rested Priester, gave him an extra day on Wednesday, and pitched Chad Patrick. There's a reason why, okay? He's not going to come out, well, we're going to take the foot off the pedal and just, no, they can't afford any more injuries. And even like Tuesday night when it was announced that Patrick was going to start ahead of Priester, immediately I was like, oh boy, is there something wrong with Priester? No, they're just giving him an extra day. So Murphy knows what he's doing. He's going to be manager of the year in the National League once again. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Every team has got their flaws. I'm going to get to that coming up here in a little bit. But you look at some of these teams, they've gone through stretches where they've lost 11 of 14 in games like that. I mean, you look at all these teams. The Brewers have been pretty consistent. Now, they've lost 4 of their 5. This is one of their toughest stretches in a long time, right? Maybe that Cubs series. The Cubs series, even there, they dropped 3 of 5. Okay. But still, I'm not worried about this. But apparently some of you guys are. I'm going to read some of these comments. And I'm not going to attribute it to anybody. The summer of fun is over. 500 ball, first 6 weeks and the last 6 weeks. We'll be bounced out in the divisional round. I mean, come on. Churio's got to have more plate discipline. He's swinging at almost everything thrown at him. At least Ortiz got on base tonight, but his at-bats aren't much better overall. Another one. We earned the 14-game winning streak without Churio in the lineup. Time to bench him. What? Come on. They've been so mediocre since that winning streak ended. This is not surprising. They have no offense. Their pitching is falling apart. Is it a coincidence the last time we won a playoff series, we had to play game 163 just to make the playoffs? He's just talking about going in, playing on a winning note. Yeah, they won their final 8 games of the regular season there, right there. And then they ended up getting 12 in a row with what they did in the postseason. Frankly, I would rather go with the 2 seed and play the winner of the Dodgers and Mets. The Brewers could beat the Dodgers, the Mets, the Padres, or the Cubs. Any one of those teams. Another one here. Hope these guys can shake off the rest any day soon. This is not a good look. They pitched Bruce Zimmerman on Tuesday night. They're putting Yelich in the leadoff spot again. They're experimenting with a few things. Yeah, and I said after the game that the video I did, that game had, the game Tuesday night had zero entertainment value. Zero. But I knew that going in. The night before, they fought like heck to lose the game in extra innings. This one here. It had zero entertainment, starting to feel like it's inevitable to repeat what we always do. Guys, that was a miserable game last night. I just kept shaking my head. This road trip has really sucked. St. Louis celebration, and then since then, it's been a bummer. I haven't heard you use the word bummer used probably since 1983. Let's see here. The Brewers are not a World Series team. The Brewers offense is a joke. World Series? Come on. LOL. This team is absolutely a joke. One and out. Padres are much better team, as well as everyone else. Just admit the truth, Chuck. It's going nowhere. The season is over. And then someone called us, the Brewers, took my term that I call the Cubs, team lifeless. Guys, let's cut them some slack here. All right? I'm going to be the first one to get all over the organization if they bow out of the first round of the playoffs. But I'm not going to put a lot into this stretch they're going through. Win or lose on Wednesday. Not going to put a lot of credence in it. They're going to be just fine. I think they are. I think these guys, as I've said, they are a bunch of gamers. Not gamers in terms of playing video games, but guys who go out there. I guess you got to distinguish the two, because there's the gamers and then there's gamers from my day. A guy who was a gamer is a guy like Freelick, Terang, Durbin, guys who go out there, Monasterio, guys who give it their all. I mean, the Brewers got a bunch of these guys. They're all gamers on this team. Guys who give it their all. Okay. And it's not because they're trying. Zimmerman puts you behind the 8-ball 4-0 in the first inning. There's a reason why Zimmerman's on the hill, okay? The good news, the magic number got reduced to 2. You think the Brewers had a tough one last night? The Phillies, they blew a 3-0 lead late at home to Miami. They had a little rain delay there. But how about the Cubs? The Cubs blew a 6-1 lead at home against the lifeless Mets. And of course, after the Cubs blew a 6-1 lead, Team Lifeless themselves, Council's teams aren't going to come back and win that game. They got down 9-7, and they're finished. I've seen that here. But the Dodgers had a meltdown last night. They were down 4. They were up 4-0 on Arizona going into like the 7th inning, and they lost that game. Team meltdown. That's the Dodgers. You talk about teams got some issues. Bullpen issues. So let's not get all worked up about it. Yeah, it's been a 1-4 road trip so far. They clinched in St. Louis. They've lost these last 2 games. And don't look at this. Whatever you do, don't look at this and say, well, the Padres aren't better than the Brewers. The Padres, I've seen more often games where the Padres have sleptwalked through this year. Manny Machado, please. Yeah, he went in the lineup on Tuesday, but I'll take our leadership on the Brewers over a team led by Manny Machado. We've seen that act before. No. Trust me. The Brewers are in great shape. Yeah, they lost last night 7-0. Got beaten extra innings Monday. They got a 3-game losing skid coming on, but we don't need to have a meltdown. I'm telling you, if I thought it was necessary to panic and all that, I would say. But guys, this is the last week of the season. They're struggling. They're going in. The magic number is 2 to get that best record in baseball. They've earned themselves some equity for what they did this summer. I mean, to talk about the offense stinks and this team is going nowhere and one and done. Man, don't base that on what they've done here the last couple of days, throwing Bruce Zimmerman on the hill, a guy who you're not going to see pitch on this team next year, right? You might see him pitch this weekend, but don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. Some good news. Trevor Megill threw his bullpen session on Tuesday, and he's going to throw to live hitting on Thursday, and it sounds like they're going to try to activate him for Sunday's game against Cincinnati. Again, maybe a meaningless game for the Brewers, but not for Cincinnati. Cincinnati is trying to get into the postseason. They got beat by Pittsburgh last night. Shelby Miller did have the UCL surgery. Obviously, he is done. We knew he wasn't coming back anyway this year. But Trevor Megill, that is great news that he is. He had the bullpen yesterday. Seemed like everything checked out. We'll see how it is for Friday when he goes with the live hitting. All is good so far. And hopefully Megill, again, his last 2 outings before he went on the injured list were not good. But that's another guy. I know some people have given up on him. The guy had 30 saves. Let's not go there yet. DL Hall, he'll face live hitting on Thursday, and I think this is great news. I'd love to see DL Hall on the postseason roster. I don't know if it's going to happen. They'd love to see him get some work into the regular season, but he's going to face live hitting on Thursday. Might be running up against the calendar there, where we may not see DL Hall. Who knows what the Brewers are thinking, but I would think maybe DL Hall. I don't know. If he's up against the live hitting in Arizona on Thursday, down at their camp in Arizona, I don't know how he's going to be on this roster. And, I get asked, how's that postseason roster going to shape out? I think there's a lot of question marks right now because the Brewers, after Sunday's game, they will not play another game until next Saturday. So look at all that time they have off. They have a lot of time off. And, they'll be working out at AmFam Field, and they'll be coming in and getting the treatment in, and there'll be a little bit of a reset. And I know some of you feel like we do for the NFL playoffs. Is it good that the team has off, or the team, should they play a few games? I'm always the feeling the less games you got to play, the better, especially with these guys. We've seen they can't get out of the wild card round. And I've been saying all year, got to go out there and earn yourself a first round bye. I think the Brewers are so fortunate not to play it. I've seen some people say, God, I wish they played next week so they'd have some games. No, that's more opportunities for them to lose and around. No, we don't want to play. Want to play Saturday. I'll take the week off for the Brewers. I'm good with that. I don't want to play any more playoff games than I have to be. Right? That's the mentality. Like in the NFL, I can never understand. Well, God, if they get a bye in the wild card round, that's great because they won't have to play. They'll be sharp for that next round. They won't have that extra week off. No. Less baseball, the better. You got less playoff games, less chance of you getting knocked out. We've learned it the hard way here. So no, Brewers will be just fine. But I'm going to tell you, some of these other teams, I feel like every team has got their flaws in the National League, especially the team that's favored to win the National League and go to the World Series, the LA Dodgers. We'll tell you about that next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Hey, you know what? There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, even though there's not a lot to decide this weekend. The Reds fans are going to be here. The Reds fans are going to be here because they're trying to break their playoff drought. They haven't been in the playoffs, 2014, I think it was, 2015. But there's nothing like catching a baseball game live. I'll be out there this weekend, and even though the Brewers don't have anything to play for, I'm looking forward to just going out there and watching some baseball. It's a great position to be in. But Gametime, you want tickets, and you're probably going to get some nice tickets this weekend through Gametime because, let's face it, there's not going to be a lot on the line, and some nice weather out this weekend. Why not download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off. Swipe tap ticket. Go download the Gametime app today. You pay $70 in tickets, you get $20 off. I use Gametime. Super simple. You just click on the seat you want. It's going to give you a seat view of wherever your seat is. And that's the beauty of it. Gametime, plus take advantage of the offer. $20 off. Locked On MLB promo code. But you got to download the Gametime app today. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download Gametime today. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. This is the point of the episode where I always tell you how to find our podcast. Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download audio podcasts. We're the number one Brewers podcast on the internet because of you great Brewers fans out there. And man, we're going to have a great September. Please join us on both platforms, on audio or visual. If you're already watching us on YouTube, subscribe to us on audio. Maybe you want to on your device. All you got to do is punch it up on your device. You can hear us throughout your house or in your car or whatever. Locked On Brewers is everywhere. And of course, our growing YouTube page, you get our visuals, our Locked On Brewers studio here with all the Brewer memorabilia in back there and talking Brewers baseball in our Brewer studio with you every day. And of course, in the postseason, we will be here 7 days a week in the postseason. 1982. Yeah, the way the Brewers are playing right now, having lost 4 or 5, I see 1982 having been brought up, but the Brewers in 1982, the final week of the season, a little history lesson. 1982, the Brewers went into the final 4 games of the season in Baltimore, having to win 1 game to clinch the American League East, their first division title. And the Brewers lost the first 3, and then came Sunday afternoon. They were facing the Hall of Famer Jim Palmer. The Brewers had Don Sutton, another Hall of Famer on the hill. And the Brewers ended up blowing out the Orioles in the final game of the regular season. It was during the NFL strike. So the only thing on that Sunday on national TV, they put the game on ABC, and it was the Brewers and Orioles on national. I know, hard to figure that the Brewers were actually on national TV. But even back then, they weren't on national TV that much. They were never on the Saturday game of the week. On Saturday afternoons. So the Brewers ended up winning that game and then going to the postseason. But they almost, if they would have got swept in that series, there would have been no 82 Brewers. They went down to the final game of the season. And there was, there was panic, all right, because it was in some doubt whether or not they get in the postseason. Brewers losing 4 or 5 now. The magic number is 2. And the Phillies might do that on their own to get the Brewers that number 1 seed. The Phillies, I feel right now, are the best team the Brewers would have to face. They're not the best team in baseball. The Brewers are still the best team. All right. Vegas odds wouldn't tell you that. And I know sometimes, Vegas is right on a lot of things, but I do think the Brewers are the best team. The Phillies, I think, second best team. But I have some issues with those guys too. I really do. I have some issues with those guys as well. I think their starting pitching is not as good as people want to say. I don't have any problem stacking up with the Phillies. The Dodgers are a mess in their bullpen. The Dodgers are an absolute mess with their bullpen. Blew a 4-0 lead last night. They cannot get it done in their bullpen. I love it. The Dodgers, they'll get 5 or 6 out of Shohei, and then they'll take him out, and then the bullpen will just blow a lead. Just blow a lead. I saw the Dodgers were like minus 4,000 last night going into the late innings, and they couldn't hold the lead. Could not hold the lead. The Mets, yeah, they came back and won a game at Wrigley, but the Mets were once up 20. They were once 20 games over the 500 mark. And now they're struggling to hold off Cincinnati to get to the postseason. But they won a big game last night to pull a game ahead of the Reds. The Reds, I feel like that's a team that's coming on strong. I feel that's a team that, they swept that 4-game series from the Cubs last week. The Reds are a team. Now, the Brewers went there and took 2 of 3 recently. All right. That's where their 14-game winning streak came to an end on a Sunday in Cincinnati. Reds are a good team. They're playing some good. They're a few games over the 500 mark. They're a good team. Are they as good as the Phillies? No. As you know, you get to the postseason, anything can happen. The Padres got some really good bullpen guys. They do. They have some really good bullpen guys. But like I said, I'll take my team's chances on a team that's led by Manny Machado, right? I will take my chances with Brewer leadership ahead of Padres leadership. And Mike Schilt, I feel like he's sleeping half the time in the dugout anyway for San Diego. The Cubs, the Cubs. Oh, that was classic last night. They've won they've lost 5 in a row. Coming off getting swept, they get up to a 6-1 lead. Oh, the Cubs. Offensively, they got so many issues. You get one arm tied behind their shoulder, and the referee's ringing the bell on them. They have no fight. They have no comeback in them. They blew that 6-1 lead, and you might as well call it game, set, and match right there. And a 7-7 game, late innings, they were down 9-7. They ain't coming back. Team lifeless. Of the teams, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs, the Padres, or the Reds, and I'm going to say those are the serious contenders for the postseason, and the Reds and Mets are obviously battling it out. The Cubs are the team I worry about the least. And, this Padres team that's taken the first 2, don't let these first 2 games be an indicator on how you think it's going to go in the postseason. Not at all. Not at all. The Dodgers, they don't strike any fear into me. The Mets certainly don't. Phillies, well, the Phillies did come into AmFam earlier this month and took 2 or 3. But I'm telling you right now, the Brewers are better than all of these teams. The Brewers are better. They have, I look at all these teams and I see a weakness. I don't see a glaring weakness of the Milwaukee Brewers. And that's not being a homer by any means. You guys know me better than that. I feel like the Brewers team is strong in many areas. Only thing that could hurt this team is injuries. They've been able to cover up most of the injuries all season long. I do feel that Woodruff injury, that is huge. And I'm not saying they can't cover up for that, but that Woodruff injury, much like Raleigh Fingers getting hurt in 82, I feel like that injury to Woodruff, that's a tough one. Brewers can't afford any more injuries. So, this weekend, once they clinch, I'm good with just resting guys. We don't need Frelick running into a wall in right field. Certainly don't need a starter. If you want to start Bruce Zimmerman a game, again, that's good. Hey, the best thing that came out of that game, as I said in my post-game instant reaction video last night, is Bruce Zimmerman gave them 6 innings. He struggled early when it looked like, oh man, are we going to have to tax the bullpen because this guy can't get any outs? He hung around for 6 innings, and that he put the train back on the track a little bit, and that was good. We did not need to exhaust the bullpen last night. And yeah, I'm good with Zimmerman getting a start again this weekend against Cincinnati. I'm sure the Reds will be good with that as well. All right, we'll wrap it up. Coming up next, down the stretch we come here on Locked On Brewers. FanDuel. Just telling you, 4,000 on the money line last night. Brewers were, I think they were like plus 2,200 at one point in the middle part of this game against San Diego last night, which you haven't seen often with these guys. And there's been a couple of times when they've been plus 2,200 and they've rallied, like against the Mets and against what was it, 2 weeks ago on a Saturday night. I forgot who they were playing. It was Saturday night and they rallied to win a game. Mets too. They were down 5-0 earlier this year. But FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, whether it's college football, NFL, you name it. Major League Baseball, the playoffs. Right now, new customers, you bet $5. Your bet wins, you'll win $300 in bonus bets to drop into your account and use across the app. You can use it on live plays. You can use it on prop betting, whatever you want to do. You'll get $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app. Visit FanDuel.com to download the app, and you get started that way. That's FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet, and $500 gets added. I should say $300. My apologies. $300 gets added to your account. And check out the live betting. It is terrific. FanDuel. FanDuel.com. Terrific sponsor of Locked On Brewers. All right. Some of you may watch this before the late afternoon game in San Diego or after. I've dropped a couple of episodes the next day. It was late night these last 2 nights. And to see, how we do on traffic and all that. And we get good traffic. A lot of you guys get to catch this midday and all that. And I think that's something I might be thinking about doing in the future, dropping the podcast midday the next day, maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning, instead of late night overnight. Because I'd usually drop the podcast like about 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't expect anybody. Sure, there's a couple of people watching it, but I don't expect people will be watching it at 1 a.m. in the morning. But I try to do it, usually an hour after the game. But in this case, this week I did a couple of them the next, late morning or so. So we'll be back. We have a Thursday episode to do, and we'll talk about the Brewers going on an off day, and then you got the Reds coming up here for a 3-game set this weekend. So my final thoughts, guys, don't panic and don't worry about, unless the only fear I have going into these final 4 games is coming out healthy. That's the number one key for the Brewers. Sure, you want to play some crisp baseball and all that, but you could win these final 4 games, and then next Saturday, a week from Saturday, come out flat as a pancake. No pun intended with the pocket pancakes that Murphy has got, but you could come out looking like one of those pocket pancakes that Murphy has got in his back pocket. And we don't want that. So let's see how the weekend goes into the off day on Thursday. And we'll look ahead to the weekend and any Brewers news that drops. Of course, we will be here, obviously, on Locked On Brewers. And of course, please subscribe to Locked On Brewers on YouTube, because you're going to get our post-game videos. When you set the alert on those, I drop a post-game video, mostly like after every game. Drop a little 60-second little recap and instant reaction. So you'll also get those once you subscribe to our YouTube page, Locked On Brewers, and that'll be coming your way. Until then, everybody, stay calm and enjoy these last remaining games, because October is going to be some fun baseball for us. I have this great feeling. This is going to be a special thing. Don't let these last few days be an indicator of what's going to happen ahead until it actually happens, and then we can panic. All right, that's going to do it. Chuck Freimund, Locked On Brewers. Thanks for making us your first listen to on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.